What's up, Bakugan fans? It's D Hart. I have before me 57 Bakugan Legends toys, Geogon, Fusions, and Bakugan, along with some gear cards as well. These are all the Bakugan toys that I have collected through February 23rd. It may not be a complete list. I think it's most of them. So if you want to wait for a complete list, maybe at the end of the year, go ahead and stop watching. But if you want to see how all these toys rank now, weakest to strongest, and what we have, well, then keep watching. I'm going to try to go through these guys really fast and jump into Bakugan Legends so far. So starting from the seemingly weakest Bakugan, I'll do the Geogon last. I put a note on here to do this quickly, remind myself what they get up to. We have Darkest Simoga, 350B and 8 damage with a minus symbol. So I'm ranking primarily by B power first, okay? I'll talk about damage wins. That's not how this list was put together though. So just by B power to start, we're gonna look at weakest to strongest. It's hard to talk about weakest to strongest though when we are looking at these core manipulation symbols, because as I try to open Simoga, they affect what the B power and what the opponent is going to be. So Simoga has 2 green fists, 200B, 6 damage. He gets up to 9 damage for damage wins. But for B power, he's only getting up to 350. So 350 and 8 damage. If you do this, your opponent will have to remove their core. You get to take it and put it on the field. That's great for a core removal and it's strong in itself, but B power wise, you're only 350. You're most likely still going to lose because your opponent will still have a higher base B power than 300 or 350, you know? So he comes in at basically the weakest Bakugan in Bakugan Legends so far. Next up is Darkest Ultra Enoch. 2 green fists, 700B, 2 damage. On a green fist, he gets to remove the opponent's core, so you still have that strong mechanism, which is really good. And then Ultra Enoch will be up to 850B and 4 damage. Now that's not bad because you're taking your opponent's core, but you're at 850, so there's a good chance you may be ahead of your opponent, but if they're 900 or 1000, they're going to be winning still. So 850, it's still pretty low on the list, even though this core mechanic could potentially put him much higher. The next one is Ventus Nova Nilius. 2 more green fists, 700B, 2 damage. On a green fist, you get to remove the core, so we're still okay. We're 850B, 4 damage. It's very, very similar to what Ultra Enoch was. It's actually the same exact card. So I don't know, you could rank them the same. They're the same, but 850 still. 850 is high as we're getting for these two, so that's why they're here. Then I put Platinum Sharktar, and this can be loose, all right? So you may or may not agree, but loosely based in order from weakest to strongest, Platinum Sharktar. He's also getting to 850, but he's gonna get up to 9 damage on this core. And that's why he's here. 9 damage is pretty high compared to the other 2 at 4 damage. And if you want to do damage wins in this case, what you could do is land on this core. You would be at 12 damage. You play Midas Cindius and that you're at 13 damage. That's pretty good for damage wins if your opponent isn't planning for it. So damage wins, it could make him a little bit stronger, but B power, he's still 850. Next, we have brand new, Nova Hanosh, new mold, new character. He's gonna get up to 900B and 7 damage. He's a Nova. His tail is the one that does it, isn't it? It's kind of cool. 900B, 7 damage. 7 damage is good, 900B is not. If you use a different core, you could get up to 14 damage and then play Might of Cindius and be at 15, and that's a good move. But B power wise, we're still pretty low in the list here. Next is Heos Ultra Cyrus. He's getting up to 900B and 9 damage. I'm just using this core for all the factions, right? So pretend that this has Heos on it. This is as high as a core as you can get, plus 400. So he's gonna be 900, 9 damage. 9 damage is huge. If he did a green fist, he'd get 3 more. He could be up to 12 damage and then 13 with Midas Cindius. That's good. So he's a little bit versatile, but I mean, not really, because 900 is not very good. That's actually pretty bad. Here's what he's looking like. You'd need a gear to win. That's a low B power. But if you are the victor, you get to remove your opponent's core. So there's that. That's pretty fun. Too bad it's at the end of the battle, though, and not at the beginning. I'm also going to mix in the fusions in this one, too. And this one might be a little bit out of place, maybe ahead of the one I just shown. Dragonoid Auxilitar, 100B, 5 damage, comes with a shield and a green fist, but he only fuses on a green fist, which is the weaker B power core. So he's going to be 250 and 7, and we don't know what this means because it's not for the trading card game, but we're making it up to mean that you get to play a gear for 2 less. And we're doing that because in the trading card game on cores that have that same symbol, it means you get to play a gear for 2 less. So we assume it means the same thing, even though they discontinued the trading card game and they don't really even define what this means. No. So you have to fuse on the weaker core. So you're 250, you fuse, and you try to open all the way. And this guy has given me trouble in the past. He just won't do it. All right, we had a talk. He's okay now. So you fuse on the weaker one. You flip him over. He's got his green fist that makes him 650B and 8 damage. So the first turn you fuse him, he's not strong at all. The second turn, you use a 300, scratch that, he's 1000B and 6 damage. So it does make him better than what we just looked at before, where we were at 900B and 6 damage with Aquos Platinum Sharktar. Whew. But still the weakest fusion. Next up, at face value, could be Darkus Ultra Nilius. He's the mold from Year 2, Armored Alliance. He is the mold that double cores really, really easily. So without taking double coring into the equation, he's only going to be 750 and 7 damage. He does have that gear symbol, so it does mean that you could play a gear for 2 less on him, and that helps. But if you're going to double core easily, because he comes with 2 magic shields, that means you could be at 1407 and you're playing a gear for 2 less. And if you have a gear that costs 2 in your hand, like his Scorching Swords, that adds on another 200 damage. So you're 1609. And then the next time you play him on the gear, you get to add another magic shield from the field. So you could add another 650, which would make you 2250 and 9. So Nilius, at its base, is kind of meh, but double coring, playing gears, adding gears, all of a sudden 2250, is that what I said? It kind of puts him at the very top of the list, so he's a sneaky one in here. Next we have Aquos Ultra Hyderus, 2 shields on an industry best 400 core. He gets up to 1000B, 2 damage, and he has the gear symbol, so you could play a gear that costs 2 less. If you play his very own gear, Wings of Aquos, you're at 1303. Not super strong, cool to play a gear for free. If it's 2 or less, here's what we got. All right, we're going from 1002 to 1050 and 6. Nova Nilius, Pyrus Nova Nilius, there's the light. 2 Fire Fists, 1050 and 6 on this core. This isn't one of those that double cores very easily. If you want to do damage wins, you could be up to 9 damage and then 10 with your Midas Syndius, but that's not a really great damage wins option, and 1050B is not great either. And if you share a magic shield from somebody, you're 1450 and 3, and a lot of people do that off the roll for free without sharing cores, is what I mean. So Nova Nilius, underwhelming to me. Then perhaps it's Aquos Centipod, and he has a lot going on here. So on an industry best 400 core, he comes with a core and a green fist. He's at 700B, 5 damage, and you are removing your opponent's core. So 700 and your opponent doesn't have a core. You may be tied, you may be losing still, because there's a lot of good Bakugan that are 800, 900, and 1000B, but you're taking their core and that hurts. So that's, you know, wherever that falls in this list, what have you. That's the shield strategy. If you go the green fish strategy, he could be 450 and 7. You add a core, 650 hopefully from your opponent. That means you are 1107. 1107 is not very competitive, not that strong. Even though you took your opponent's core, I imagine that you would lose. Unless you're taking one of the cores that they really, really need. But just as a straight up B power to get to 1100, not very strong. Next is Darkus Nova Nilius, 2 green fists, 500B, 5 damage, 500 more on a green fist. It sounds like it would be cool and strong, but once it's all done, he's only getting up to 1150 and 7. 1150 and 7, not very strong. Damage wins, he would get up to 8, plus 9 with Midas Syndius. There's a lot better Bakugan than this. Next, I put Pyrus Cycloid, and this is actually the wrong toy. I couldn't find the right one anywhere in all my boxes, so I have this guy. I'm pretty sure he's the wrong one. He's from year 1. But here's the card, Evolution Cycloid, 300B, 8 damage. He could get up to 1211, and we do that by landing on this B-Power Fire Fist, finding his magnet. There he is. So we're 550 and 11, and we're adding a core from the matrix. So 550 plus 650 is 1200. 1211. It's not very great B power. You do have 2 cores and you're taking one from an opponent, so that's strong. If you go on a green fist, you're gonna remove your opponent's core, but you're only gonna be 450 B and 10 damage. 450, they're probably still gonna beat you. And that's not super great either. Where I think Cycloid excels the most is doing damage wins. 8 damage, you land on a Fire Fist, you add another one, so you could add this one. You land on this one, add another one, that's 12, plus 8 is 20 damage, and 300B. 20 damage, Might of Cindius, 21 damage. That's about as good as it gets with this guy. So super strong, maybe the strongest in this group for damage wins. But B power, even though you're taking people's cores, not strong. Right after Pyrus Cycloid is Hail Cycloid. He comes with a magic shield, but he's not getting too much higher than the last Cycloid we just saw. He's gonna be up to 1250 B and 3 damage if he lands on his magic shield. If he goes the green fist route, it's not as high as this. He'd be 1150 and 9. So either 1250 and 3 or 1150 and 9. 9 is a lot of damage, but 1150 B, not strong, gonna be hard to win. Very similar to Hail Cycloid, the very last Bakugan, we have Platinum Neonilius, and while his design is new and a lot of fun, his strength in the trading card game is questionable. It looks like he can get up to 1250 B and 3 damage at his highest. If you go the green fist route, you're still gonna be 1150 and 9, which is like the exact same thing as the Cycloid we just looked at. There you go, sadly weak. Then there's Ventus Ultra Trox, 1250 B and 6 damage. He has his magic shield. 1250 B is not strong, kind of weak on this list. He does have the gear symbol, which could mean, like always, that you play a gear for 2 less. If you play his own gear on him, you play it for free. He gets 300 bonus points on a green fist. So if we did that really quick, he's still underwhelming. This is 900, this is 1,000, plus the green fist is 1150. We've got 9 plus 2 is 11, 1150 and 9. B power is just underwhelming. The damage is big, but the B power is not. So unless you're gonna just go for damage wins and pair up with Pyrus, the B power for him is sadly weak. Then there's Heos Nova Pegatrix. He's gonna get up to also 1250 and 7. So B power weak, not very exciting. The other strategy is to roll onto a core, the one that has the Heos on it, obviously. He'd be at 1007, and the opponent doesn't have a core. So that actually makes him pretty strong, because then no matter what, you would be tied with your opponent. The highest they can get is 1,000. Here you are at 1,000, and you're doing 7 damage if you can manage to get ahead with your cards. So this one is actually pretty strong. You're taking your opponent's cores, and they're not gonna be ahead of you. Could be higher on the list. Let's see. Next we have Ventus Nova Hanoj. A lot going on here with him. Let's do all the math. He's gonna get up to 1250 and 8 for all the things that we have to calculate. So he lands on his green fist, 150 and 150 B, 2 damage for the highest B power. He's at 550, and then he gets to add another core. So let's just say that we're adding this core, 550 plus 700, 4 plus 3 plus 550. We're at 1250 and 8. So a lot of work. It's easy work, but 1250 is not strong. 8 would be strong. It could be 9 with a plus 3 damage, and that's not great for B power, for damage, excuse me. Or you could go plus 3 damage core, add another core, so you're at 9. You take a Fire Fist that you're just sharing from somebody. He doesn't come with one, and you're at 15 damage, that could work well for a damage wins play with Ventus and Pyrus, but that's not what he comes with. So just base his own score. He's getting up to 1250 and 8. That puts him still pretty on the low end. Actually, we're kind of in the middle, aren't we? Right in the middle, 1250. Next up, 1250 and 9. Nova Dragonoid. So let's grab that Fire Fist that he's coming with. He gets a bonus of 500 on a Fire Fist. One time, as long as he has one on him, he's holding one. So he's 1,000 plus 250 is 1250 and 9. Pretty simple, 1250. If you wanted to do damage wins, you could get up to 12 and then 13 with Midas Indius, but the bonus is in the B power, so that's not helping you as much. He does come with a Fire Fist, so you can do damage wins with him if you so choose. And you might want to, because 1250 is not very strong B power. Next, it's Aurelus Auxilitar for B power purposes. He's also 1201. I miscalculated and assumed he was 1300. So he could have been a little bit lower on the list because he doesn't get a 400 bonus on a core for Aurelus, which kind of stinks. So this guy is boring. It's 1201. That's as good as he gets. On a Fire Fist, he gets up to 7. You could use the Fire Fist to share, but why would you even use him in the first place as an Aurelus Bakugan? So sadly, Aurelus Auxilitar is skippable. Next is Aquos Ultra Dragonoid. I really like this card. He comes with a Helix. He starts with 700B, so he's getting up to 1300. He'll have 0 damage if you go that B power 1300 route, so there's that. He could be 1201 if you wanted to do that, but 1200 is so weak. 1300 is not much better. What you do get to do on a Helix is potentially play a gear that costs 2 or less for free, or just play gear for 2 less, right? So he could look like this. All of this combined, he actually ends up with 2 damage, and he'd go up to 1600 B. So 1300 over here, plus 3, plus 100, that's actually 1700. So he could be 1700 and 2 damage if you had this in your hand, and rolled him on this Helix. So that's pretty strong, but you'd have to have this in your hand and all have to work out great. If it didn't, 1300 and 0, pretty underwhelming. And how does that feel that so far, more than half the Bakugan have been TCG competitive underwhelming? Dang it. That only goes for, I guess, the people, though, that actively and actually try to collect strong TCG Bakugan. Most of us would just gather these ones casually and we'd have even matches, so it's all good. We have Nova Dragonoid Nilius. So here's the front. He fuses on a shield, so you would never even use the front. You just roll him on a shield, and he would fuse and be at 800B and 5 damage. We'd use a fusion shield, so he would be at 1300B and 5 damage. That's not very special, but on the Victor, you get to remove your opponent's core and put it onto the matrix yourself if you win, so you can steal their core. But winning on 1300 might be difficult unless you're playing against all the rest of these guys that get around 11, 12, 1300. So there he is. And I'm still in the middle of the pack ballpark here, but I kind of skipped over some of these fusions that are lower. So Clopter Apollyon, 500B, 2 damage with a shield is his highest B. He has a reroll, he fuses on a shield. So you could roll him right onto the shield, fuses the first turn, first play, first try, he would be 1307. That's good B power. The next time you could play a Fire Fist on him, be up to 13 damage, 14 with Midas Indius, and that's good. But he was down there as one of the weaker fusions in this Year 5 Bakugan Legends so far. Next would be Dragonoid Treacherous, who's only coming in at 50 B power higher. I also think this is the wrong Dragonoid Treacherous, but I couldn't find the Legends one. That's the second Bakugan I couldn't find in my Legends that's lost somewhere. So here's an old version, I think. He fuses on a Fire Fist, so we won't even look at the front because we landed on a Fire Fist. He's getting up to 1250 and 7. The last one, Clopter Apollyon, was 1207. So he does have a built-in reroll as well. If you wanted to do damage wins, you could be up to 10 and then 11 with Midas Indius. Actually, it's not the same amount of damage. It's 3 damage lower, but 50 B power higher. So we're still on the low end of B power fusions with these guys. And then catching up to where we are, 1300 and 0 damage for Troxyrus. So front of the card, Aurelus, he lands on a Helix and fuses. 200B, 1 damage. That's so sad. That's so bad. But he fuses on a Helix, goes up to 700, Plus the 600, he's 1300 and 0. So, not worth it to me. He could be 1202, but 1200 is so bad. And then truly the next one on the list, the last fusion before another couple regulars, was Pegatrix and Gillitor. Aurelus, he fuses on a helix. He comes with 2 helixes, so that's strong. 2 helixes versus 1 is good. Fuses, 700 B7 damage. He goes up to 1304. So you preserve a little bit of damage, or you could be 1206 if you wanted to on another core. And Victor, your opponent has to remove their core, but still, winning on 1300B, not going to be easy unless your opponent has Bakugan of the same B power as you. Next strongest was Ventus Maxodon. He gets up to 1350 and 6. That's all there is to it. Not much more to say. Then we could have Leonidas right here. Heos Leonidas, 300B, 5 damage, 2 shields. On this best shield in the Heos faction, it would be obviously. He'd be at 705. You get to add a core from the field, so adding a magic shield, hopefully from your opponent, means that you would be 1350 and 5. Now that's not good B power, but it does make him strong because you get to take a core from your opponent, hopefully. So that in itself could make him a much stronger on this list, but 1350B is still going to be what he gets up to, regardless of how much you're stealing from your opponent. The next Bakugan is eerily similar to what Heos Leonidas was. It's Nova Dragonoid, Aurelus, 400B, 6 damage, 2 shields. He'll land on this shield for 300B and be able to add another shield from the field. So he's 700 plus 650, hopefully from your opponent. He's 1350 and 6. All right, the next one, this is where it starts to get a little bit fun. Ultra Gortheon. He does come with 2 shields, which makes him weaker. He has 1000B, 2 damage. So on a darkest shield like this, he would be up to 1400B and 2 damage. 1400B is kind of what we're shooting for, minimum, I would say. And that's not terrible, but it's also not great. But if you're sharing a magic shield from one of your teammates, he's 1650 and 2. Now that is strong, and I would love to play him like that all the time, so that would be the strategy. The next Bakugan is coming in at just 1 damage more than Ultra Gortheon. It's Platinum Neo Dragonoid. So here's the mold. We got this one for the first time last year. This is his version in year 5. Comes with a shield. He could get up to 1403, and just like Ultra Gortheon, if you're sharing a magic shield, he's 1650 and 3. But he's ranked currently at 1403. We're getting close to maybe the top 15 now. Then again, next Bakugan increasing by just a damage point. It's Nova Pegatrix, Aurelus, 600B, 2 damage. You land on a green fist. You get to add a core from the field. So when you add the magic shield, he's 1250 plus 150 is 1404. And you get to take your opponent's core, so that makes him strong. Stronger than he would be otherwise if he was just 1404 on his own without taking cores from opponents. And here is the true number 15 as we get to the top 15, Nova Trox. Now he does 1450 and 5 all on his own. He doesn't have to take any cores, which could be considered a little bit weaker, but he's going to be 50 B power high than the other two we just looked at. So 1450 and 5, he has a built-in reroll. So if the opponent is trying to also grab his core when the opponent opens their Bakugan, you can miss with Nova Trox, roll them again, and preserve your magic shield for yourself. Next is Ultra Krakelios, and he actually could be pretty interchangeable with the Ventus Nova Trox we just saw. 800B, 1 damage, comes with a helix, so he gets up to 1400B and 0 damage. That is worse than what Trox was. Ultra Krakelios also has a reroll, so that's helpful, but Krakelios has this plus 8 damage with a helix, so I think I may have put him here because he also gets to 1400, but he's versatile. So if you didn't want to go for B power and get to 1400, you could go for damage. You could be at 8 plus 4 is 12, 13 damage because you're paired with Pyrus. You play Midas Indius, you're 14, and you do damage wins. So because of that versatility, he's pretty cool. It's either a lot of damage or it's 1400 B power with no damage. Next, Ryarazu is in the mix. Darkest Ryarazu, he's getting up to 1409. So we're still 50 B power lower than what Ventus Trox was. Ventus Trox should have been higher than these two because of how I said we're in order of B power, but here we go. So 500, 500, 400. He's 1400, he gets a lot of damage off these shields, so that's actually pretty fun. That's strong. 1400 is the minimum that we'd like, and 9 damage is a lot. So Darkest Rairazu. And number 12, Nova Trox. 800B, 6 damage. He comes with a magic shield included. Oh no! So he's 1450 and 6. We had a Heos Trox. I think I said Ventus the first time, huh? Heos Trox from year 2, who could get up to 1450 and 2 damage. So this is just a new version of that old guy. He's 1450 and 6. 6 damage is a lot to go with 1450. So he is number 12. And I almost missed a fusion. I caught him at the last moment. It's Darkus Nilius Enoch. So 500B, 5 damage, shield and a green fist. He fuses on either one of them, which is kind of fun. Here he is, looking like this. He almost looks like a mythic with this coloring. I like this a lot. It's pretty cool. So he fuses on the first roll. You flip him over. He's at 1400B and 7 damage. And on a Victor, you get to remove your opponent's core. So this is the highest B power with the Victor that we've seen so far. Worth it. Next is Nova Dragonoid, getting up to 1450 and 6. He comes with the magic shield, so that's good. Here is the diamond version. His head out. It's the diamond version, the regular version. He has the diamond Evo right here. So 1450 and 6. You pay 4 energy. You can get up to 1800 plus 650 is 2450 and 9. That's a really strong Evo. We've talked about that before. So very fun Bakugan. Potentially number 10, although there are some really strong fusions that makes a total of 14 Bakugan still remaining, but Nova Dragonoid, high on the list. Next, it's Platinum Colossus, 900B, 2 damage. He has a reroll. He comes with a Helix. So he's getting up 600 more with this Helix. He's at 1500 and 0 damage. So 1500, the highest speed power we've seen so far, but he doesn't have any damage with him. Now he does have also a Diamond Evo that I managed to find. For 4 energy, he's going up to 1800. So 4 energy is giving you 900B. That's a great trade. That's a great ratio, but he still has 0 damage with him. So you could use a different Helix and preserve some damage while also having a lot of B power. Next was Nova Hyderus. We're still within like the true top 12 now because I still need to count all the fusions that I have. There's 4 left. Nova Hyderus is getting up to 1500 and 0 with this Helix, or he could be 1402 with this one right here. So getting into that 1400, 1500 area still. Next we have Arliss Vylok, who on a Fire Fist is adding a core from the field. So 600B, 3 damage base, plus 250 and 3. He's 850 and 6. 850 and 6, you add a magic shield, hopefully your opponent's, you're at 1506. Okay, so resetting the rank so far, this is 11. Number 11, Arliss Maxodon, 800B, 4 damage. He gets a little bit of a bonus of B power on a Helix, but a lot of damage. So with this Helix, he can get up to 1507. That's pretty cool for Arliss, although not a lot of cards to go with him. 1507. All right, now we've got to the top 10. Maybe number 10, Pyrus Platinum Blitzfox. Comes with a comes with a Fire Fist and a Helix. He could be 1500 and 0 on the highest Helix, but what we want to do is use his Fire Fist because that hurts the most, the opponent. So this Fire Fist, he's 1150 and 4, and your opponent has their core removed. You get to steal it, put it on your side of the matrix, not on your Bakugan. But you're 1150, and that means the highest your opponent could be at this point is 1000. So no matter what, if you're landing on your Fire Fist and this Fire Fist, you're going to be higher B power, and you're going to take their core. That's really strong, and that hurts your opponent every single time they open, unless they have built-in rerolls and they're trying to avoid you. So Pyrus Blitzfox, top 10. Number 9, Darkus Auxilitar. He's pretty straightforward, 900B, 3 damage. That's a big B power with a 3 damage base. Comes with a magic shield, so he's 1550 and 3. Next, Heos Cenopod, 100B, 7 damage. On a green fist, you get to add a core from the field, and if you add a Helix, you get a bonus of another 700. So if you add all of this up together, it's 1550 and 6 damage. You have 2 cores, so that's good for Heos strategies like Domination and Trifecta. 1550, and 6. If you wanted to do damage wins with this, you definitely could, and he's very versatile. So you could get a core that gives you 3 damage on a green fist like this. You're at 10, and you add a core from the field. If you just use your helixes, you could be at 14 with this one. Or you could add a fire fist from a friend that you're sharing with, and you're at 16. So Centipod not only gets to a really high B power, 1550, on his own cores, he also can do damage wins too. Very strong Haos Bakugan. For the 7th strongest Bakugan in front of me right now, we have the Fusion Hydronoid Krakelios Aquos, 2 shields, 505, fuses on a shield. So you would just roll him on this shield, and he would be up to 1510 damage. That's pretty strong. Really good. 1510. Not a lot of opportunity to do damage wins, but you're going to use them for B power. Next up, number 6, Darkest Platinum Grizzwing. Comes with a helix, 100B7 damage to start, but on this helix, you're up to 1500 and, well, 1504, but you wouldn't do that first, right? You would land on your green fist first. So you land on your green fist, you're at 250 and 9, and then you add a helix because you get to add one from the field, and when he has a helix, he gets 700. So all in all, he can get up to 1550 and 6 with all of these added in. 1550 and 6. If you wanted to do damage wins, you could, on his own cores, land on a green fist that gives you 3 damage and you're at 10, and then add a helix and be at 14. So you'd be at 100B and 14 damage. And that's respectable for damage wins if you want to play that way. All right, number 5, Aquos Maxodon. So he has a helix and a shield, and they both, he won't open, they both could be really strong. On the shield, on the helix, he could be 1600B, 0 damage, or you skip the helix, you land on the shield, it'd be an Aquos one, you'd be at 1400, and your opponent wouldn't have a core. So that's really strong. You're at 1400, and your opponent, the highest they would be is 1000. So you could start the battle 400B up on your opponent, and you get to take the core that they landed on and put it on your side. So this guy, super strong. He's number 5 so far. So if you see him, go grab him. The next 3 strongest, number 4, 3, and 2, are actually Fusion Bakugan, and that is so exciting because historically fusions have not been very good. At least many of them. So Halcor Ramparian, Darkest, 400B, 3 damage, comes with a magic shield and a green fist. Unfortunately, this one has to fuse on a green fist, so you'd have to fuse green fist this turn. You're only 1050 and 7. That's not great. So the first turn, he's not great and he wouldn't be high on this list. But after you fused him, the next time you play him, you can land him on your Fusion 800 Magic Shield. And then he's 1705. 1705 is really strong. Number 4. Now number 2, even though he's going to be 100 B power less than what we just looked at, you don't have to wait a turn. So Heos Syndius Scorpiros, 2 magic shields, which is also really cool. 2 magic shields, 700B, 1 damage. You fuse him on your magic shield, so you roll him right onto the fusion one first, and he's at 1606. You get to share magic shield, and he has a built-in reroll. Like this guy, this is, if you're gonna play fusions on Heos, you're gonna have this guy. This one is it. He's awesome. 1606. All right, number 2, the last fusion. This one is so fun because this mold is so fun. Such a fun mold. Fangzor Mantanoid, he has a magic shield, 600B, 3 damage. He fuses on a magic shield and he has a reroll. So right when you roll, you're not gonna roll on that one, you're gonna roll on the fusion. Right when you roll, you open him up. Here's how he looks. He's awesome as I fumble him around. And he is 1704. 1704, as high as we're getting, almost, in all of these Bakugan Legends Bakugan. Fusion Bakugan, it's so fun. I can't believe that this is happening. I wish the trading card game was still going because we could use Shields of Vestroia fusion specific cards with these strong Fusion Bakugan. Come on. But that's not the case right now because the trading card game is frozen in time for who knows how long. But number one on the list, Nova Pegatrix. This guy, you got to do a lot of math to figure this one out. As you add him up, as you roll him on his magic shield, he comes with a magic shield and a helix, so two very strong cores. Adding everything up together, you land on the magic shield, you get to add a core from the field. You could add your helix, you could add your opponent's helix. Ideally, your opponent's would be best because you're taking it from their side of the matrix. And you add up 650, 600, 600, and 500. You are at 2350 and 2 damage. 2350 off the roll, taking cores from your opponent. Like, I think this is the strongest Bakugan we have out there. It's Nova Pegatrix, Bakugan Legends. Go grab him. He's in a 5-pack, a collection pack. And there you go. You'll have the strongest Bakugan in the game. All right, strongest Geogon, last but not least. Darkest Hyenix, weakest to strongest. There's 5 of them here that I have so far. He's gonna get up to 1550 and 5 off the drop. It costs 1 energy to do it, 1550 and 5. So you saw that some of the strongest Bakugan are getting up to 1500. Maybe it was the top like 10 to 15 range. So for 1 energy, you can be in that range. That's not great to pay 1 energy to be there. But if you're playing against somebody that only gets up to 1200B and you play Hyenix 1 to get to 1500, you paid 1 for 300B. That's actually a good ratio. So it depends on who you're playing against. If you're playing against strong competitive Bakugan, not great. Middling Bakugan, this guy would be awesome. Next up is Pyrus Surturin. He is going to get up to 1300 plus 250 is 1550 and 7. So very, very close, very similar for 1 energy. 1 for 1550 and 7. Same story as Darkest Hyenix. Then we have Arcleon. So Arcleon, also 1 energy. They're all 1 energy, which is interesting because you can play them very quickly and that's fun. You can take your opponent's Fire Fist. You can use your own Fire Fist. On a Fire Fist, your opponent removes their core. You get to remove their core and put it onto the matrix. You're at 1150 and 5. And the reason he's that good is because you're going to be 150 up on your opponent. It doesn't matter what they landed on. You get to take their core and you're 150 up and it's their move. The ball is in their court. So that makes him strong in a very specific way, very strong way. Then there's Darkest Monstropod. So 1 energy, 400B, 1 damage, 900B on a shield plus a Darkest specific shield like this. You are at 1700B and 4 damage. And 1 energy for 1700 is actually getting good because a lot of Bakugan get to 1400, 1500. You're at 1700. Which is what could be 1 energy for 200B above your opponent. So that's a normal action card. And maybe you're stealing one of their shields. I don't know. So Monstropod is next up. He's the 2nd strongest Geogon with Bakugan Legends so far, but not the strongest. And here we go, Ventus Talon. This guy could end up being the strongest Geogon that we have to date. 1 energy. There he goes. He's opening. Ventus Talon, 600B, 2 damage. On a Helix, he gets 900B. You would be at 1200 plus 9 is 2100. It's even more incredible. It's 2100. So you could preserve damage, and you could be 2000B and 1 damage. And you're still getting 1 energy for 500, for 400, even 300 on your opponent if they opened up at 1700B. So best Geogon that we have by far. He's amazing. All right, everybody, thanks for watching. Thanks for checking out this list. Happy hunting with all of your Bakugan Legends this year. More Bakugan Legends to be found, to be hunted, coming out. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. More like this coming soon.